What if I told you there was a World War II battle that killed more soldiers than D-Day, the Battle of Britain, and Pearl Harbor combined? But you've probably never even heard its name? While the world remembers the thunder of Normandy's beaches, the dogfights above Britain, and the devastation of Pearl Harbor, there was another clash, hidden in the snows of Russia, that bled entire armies dry. This is the story of the Rzhev meat grinder. In the next few minutes, you're going to discover why Stalin ordered this battle to be erased from history, how 2 million soldiers died in fighting so brutal that survivors called it hell on earth, and the shocking tactics that made even hardened Nazi generals question their humanity. But before we dive into the carnage, let's understand why a small Russian town became the site of the most savage fighting in human history. October 1941. The German war machine is steamrolling across the Soviet Union. Operation Barbarossa, the grand invasion of the East, has already captured over 3 million Soviet soldiers in just 4 months. Cities burn, villages vanish, and the Wehrmacht's armored columns seem unstoppable as they race toward Moscow. But there's a problem. Just 120 miles from the Soviet capital, right in the path of the German advance, sits a small city called Rzhev, a name that, at this point, means little to the outside world. Rzhev, perched on the Volga River, isn't just a dot on the map. To the Germans, it's the perfect launching pad for the final blow that could topple Moscow and the Soviet government. When Army Group Center captures Rzhev in October, the city becomes a dagger pointed directly at Stalin's heart. Nazi flags fly over the ruins, and the stage is set for what could be the decisive move in the war's Eastern Front. But in a cold, smoke-filled room in Moscow, Joseph Stalin looks at his war maps and makes a decision, one that will transform Rzhev into a graveyard for 15 relentless months. It's a choice so brutal, so costly in lives, that Stalin will spend the rest of his life trying to hide what happened there. Winter, 1942. The world's attention is fixed on the heroic defense of Leningrad and the desperate fighting outside Moscow. But quietly, away from the headlines, Stalin launches Operation Mars. The theory behind the operation is simple. Throw everything at Rzhev. Every available division, every tank, every plane. Bleed the Germans dry in a battle of pure attrition. Stalin is convinced he can break the enemy's will before his own army collapses. He makes a fatal miscalculation. He believes the Germans will break first. January 8th, 1942. The first major Soviet offensive begins. General Georgy Zhukov, the hero who saved Moscow, now commands over 300,000 men in a massive assault on Rzhev. The fighting that follows is unlike anything the world has seen, even by the already grim standards of World War II. The Germans have turned Rzhev into a fortress. Every building is a bunker. Every street is a killing field. Soviet soldiers charge again and again across open, snow-covered ground, only to be cut down by machine gun fire, mortars, and artillery. Human wave attacks crash against the German lines, and the snow is churned red with blood. In that first assault alone, 300,000 Soviet soldiers are thrown into the meat grinder. Casualty reports from those first weeks are so shocking that Stalin orders them classified, marked top secret, never to be seen by the public. What is happening at Rzhev is so brutal that it makes Stalingrad look like a minor skirmish. The scale of death is almost beyond comprehension. A Soviet survivor, Lieutenant Mikhail Sukhanev, wrote in his diary, "We attacked the same hill 12 times in one day. Each time we leave more bodies. The snow is red for kilometers. I no longer count my dead comrades. There are too many." The Red Army's losses are staggering, but the attacks don't stop. The horror isn't only felt on one side. German soldiers, many of whom have participated in some of the war's darkest atrocities, write home describing the fighting as inhuman. A German sergeant tells his wife, "The Russians attack us like machines. They step over their own dead without stopping. We shoot them down, but more keep coming. I pray this madness ends soon." For both armies, Rzhev is a nightmare from which there seems no escape. And yet, the battle is only beginning. Through the bitter winter and into the muddy spring, the attacks and counterattacks continue without pause. Fresh Soviet divisions arrive, only to be thrown into the same doomed assaults. The Germans dig deeper, fortifying every inch of ground. The lines barely move, but the casualty lists grow longer every day. By the summer of 1942, the Battle of Rzhev has become something beyond warfare. It is systematic human slaughter. The city itself no longer exists, just a landscape of ruins and craters, with not a single building left standing. The population of 35,000 is gone, replaced by the endless procession of soldiers moving to their deaths. Stalin keeps sending more men, determined to break the German lines no matter the cost. The cycle is predictable and horrifying. New divisions arrive, attack, are destroyed, then replaced by more. Entire formations are wiped out in days. Political officers report that morale is collapsing, but the orders are clear: attack, attack, attack. Then come the reports that Stalin tries to suppress for decades, reports of cannibalism. Soviet soldiers, cut off behind enemy lines for weeks at a time, with no food and no chance of rescue, begin eating the bodies of their fallen comrades to survive. German intelligence documents these acts. Even hardened Nazi officers are shocked. Major Klaus Hermann writes in his diary, "Found Soviet position today. Evidence suggests they have been eating their fallen comrades for weeks. Even our hardest men were sickened." But Stalin's answer isn't to end the offensive. He classifies the reports and orders more men to the front. By the end of 1942, entire Soviet divisions are being erased from history in a matter of days. The 215th Rifle Division loses 11,000 men in 3 days. The 42nd Guards Division, once 12,000 strong, is reduced to just 800 survivors. German Commander General Walter Model starts calling Rzhev the place where Soviet divisions come to die. Even he, a man known for his ruthlessness, begins to crack under the relentless pressure. The Germans are losing men at a rate never seen before. The battle for Rzhev is consuming both armies. March 1943. After 15 months of continuous slaughter, something unprecedented happens. General Model, facing annihilation, does something no German commander has dared to do. He sends a personal message to Hitler requesting permission to withdraw from Rzhev. The continued defense of Rzhev is becoming counterproductive to our war effort. "We are losing more men here than at Stalingrad," he writes. Hitler, shocked, has no choice but to approve the withdrawal. At almost the same time, Stalin is facing his own crisis. The Red Army has suffered over 1.3 million casualties at Rzhev. Generals are demanding an end to the attack. Even the legendary General Zhukov tells Stalin, "Rzhev has become a meat grinder that is destroying our army faster than we can replace it." For the first time, Stalin is forced to listen. And so, in March 1943, both sides make the same decision, almost simultaneously. The Germans launch Operation Büffel, a carefully planned withdrawal from Rzhev. The Soviets, exhausted and decimated, do not pursue. The nightmare is over. But the story does not end there. Stalin, obsessed with maintaining the Red Army's image and his own reputation, immediately classifies everything about Rzhev. Survivors are forbidden to speak of the battle. Documents are locked away in secret archives. For 60 years, the Battle of Rzhev is erased from Soviet history. While the world celebrates the victory at Stalingrad, Rzhev is forgotten. The final cost? Over 2.3 million casualties, more than the entire Pacific theater of World War II. For 15 months, the world's largest armies clashed in an inferno of violence, and the world never knew. Today, Rzhev has been rebuilt. It's a quiet Russian town of 60,000 people, most of whom have no idea they live on one of history's largest battlefields. Yet every spring, when the snow melts, the earth still gives up its secrets. Farmers find bones, rusty helmets, and the remnants of a battle meant to be forgotten. If this story shocked you, imagine how many other forgotten battles are buried in classified archives around the world. There are countless hidden chapters of history waiting to be uncovered. What other forgotten battles do you think deserve to be remembered? Let your curiosity be your guide, and never stop searching for the truth behind the headlines. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the shadows of the past. The story of the Rzhev meat grinder reminds us that history is often written not by the victors, but by those who choose what we remember and what we forget. And sometimes, the most important lessons are buried beneath the silence. So, as we close this chapter, remember, history is never as simple as it seems. The world is full of untold stories, silent fields where the echoes of the past still linger. And every time we uncover one, we honor the memory of those who endured the unimaginable and ensure that their sacrifice is never forgotten.